Welcome back to VAGARTH. Mega cities are often spoken as spaces of opportunity, ambition, and movement. But within these cities, women live layered lives, negotiating relationships, careers, choices, and identity often all at once. Today's session, Women Centric Stories from Mega Cities, bring together voices that explore how urban spaces shape women's inner worlds, emotional landscapes, and personal narratives. Cities change skylines quickly, but the deepest stories unfold quietly within people. Our third session today turns our attention to stories emerging from India's mega cities, stories that explore relationships, solitude, aspiration, and identity through a distinctly female lens. As cities expand and transform, women's narratives offer us a deeper understanding of how urban spaces shape emotional and social lives. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Kavita Bhatnagar ma'am, author, poet, and senior Indian Revenue Service officer, and economist and political scientist by training. Ma'am, we welcome you on the dais. Dr. Bhatnagar completed her BA Honours in English from Sophia College, Ajmer, and her Masters in Political Science from DAV College, where she was awarded the University Gold Medal. She joined the Indian Revenue Service in 1996 and has served across Central Excise, Service Tax, Customs and GST in Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Bangalore, Delhi and Bhopal. She holds a doctorate on WTO and India's political economy, a critique, and has recently completed a postgraduate diploma in public policy and management from MDI Gurugram. Among several recognitions, she received the WCO Certificate of Merit in 2017. Joining her in this conversation is Anindita Ghose, writer, journalist, and communications. Ma'am, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Absolutely. Consultant based in Bombay. Her debut novel, The Eliminated, was published by HarperCollins in India and Bloomsbury internationally, and was described by BBC Radio 4 as a work that gives voice to a new generation. Anindita has previously served as editor of Mind Lounge and features director at Vogue India, and most recently led strategic communications for a global social impact advisory. She holds a master's degree in linguistics from the University of Mumbai and another arts journalism from Columbia University. Her latest book, The Only City, is a landmark anthology of short stories on Bombay, conceived, commissioned, and edited by her, and also includes a story written by her. The book represents the city as memory, movement, and emotional terrain seen through diverse voices. With great respect, I invite both of our speakers on the dais. Please give them a big round of applause. This session will be moderated by Professor Dr. Rolii Agrawal, who brings nearly 18 years of teaching experience with graduate and postgraduate students. A graduate of St. Stephen's College, she has taught English language to college students and immigrants in London. Her doctoral research focused on an existential analysis of the plays of Arthur Miller, and she has completed the CELTA teacher training course from the University of Cambridge. Her research interests include gender studies, literary adaptations, and bibliotherapy. She has presented papers at reputed national and international conferences and currently leads the Jagran School of Languages and Social Sciences at Jagran Lakeshore University. A passionate literature enthusiast, she enjoys teaching and reading across fiction, non-fiction, and poetry in both English and Hindi. I humbly invite our moderator to the dais. Please give her a big round of applause. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for such lovely introductions. Welcome everybody to this session at the Bhopal Literature and Art Festival in 2026. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with two of our lovely authors around the topic stories and women-centric stories from the megacities. Uh, like our anchor has very, aptly described uh, the importance of megacities and the kind of stories they hold. It's not just women, but a lot of people who live in megacities that they have a varied kind of an experience. And the works of our authors are a testimony to that. Though in the case of women, the experience is rarely ever neutral. It's always a little different from what, say, other people go through. So thank you so much for joining us today. And as we begin our conversation, my very first question to both of you is that, and in fact, before I start with my questions, let me request you to please talk about your works briefly. So Kavita ji, may I request you to please go first?
Thank you, Rolii. And good afternoon and warm welcome to all of you who are present here. So since we are talking about mega cities, let me begin by saying that I am a small town girl. And my work has taken me to many cities. And therefore, I think my novels reflect that spectrum of where I have worked. So I will be speaking about my two novels, Second Chance and Love Unlocked. Second Chance is about a young girl, Ragini's quest for love and companionship. She is 26 years old, pretty, earning well, but divorced. And the novel takes her through the roller coaster emotional ride where she meets many suitors. But in the end, when she finds her Prince Charming, she discovers that he is not legally free to marry her. So is she jinxed, or will life give her a second chance? That is what the story is all about. And in the second novel, Love Unlocked, I have taken a different context. They are not sequels exactly, but Love Unlocked is about the life of Priyanka Malhotra. And it starts when she is 40 and reflecting about her life, and goes up to when she is 65 and again reminiscing about her life. And the story is set in Mumbai. So Mumbai is what gives her her aspirations to transcend her middle class existence. And from there, she goes into an arranged marriage setup where the adjustments are difficult for her to adapt to. And after that, the COVID comes over. Here I have given it the name of Respa flu. And the dysfunctional family that she has basically gone into, how does that adapt to the COVID, the Respa flu virus? Does the family heal, or do the bonds break forever? These are the questions the story sets to answer. So both the stories are linked in their two themes, I would say, of transformation and of having second chance in life, both at love and relationships and at the family and the harmonious unit that we all seek. So in the end, I would just say that मेरी मेहनत और मेरी सोच आपके सामने रखती हूँ, पसंद आएगी आपको, यही ख्वाहिश करती हूँ.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kavita ji. Anindita, may I request you to please tell us?
So the topic of the session, mega cities and stories of women, I feel is split across the two books that we're talking about today. My first novel, The Illuminated, is about a mother and daughter and their journey towards light. So they are the illuminated. It works on the lunar metaphor in India and in Asia more broadly. In the patriarchal systems, we think of the man as the center around which all the family members revolve. So the titular character, the kind of the husband or the father figure is called Robi, which is a Bengali way of saying Ravi or sun. The wife is named Shashi, which is the moon. The daughter is Tara. What happens when the sun is eclipsed? Ravi dies on page 1 of the novel, and it's his wife and daughter's journey towards finding their own identity, and so they are the illuminated. That's the first book. The second book, The Only City, which is recently released, it's 3 months old, is an anthology of original short stories on Bombay. I didn't want to anchor on nostalgia or landmarks. I think that has been done a lot. I wanted to create a cast of Bombay characters, where Bombay is the only city in which these characters can exist in their true dimension.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you. So let me start by asking both of you, in fact. Uh, the city features in your works, and we see it sometimes nurturing women's independence and sometimes restricting it. So, as writers, do you think the city is more of an enabler, or is it a constant adversary that women have to contend with?
I think in my novels, the city emerges as an enabler. It enables the shaping of the character and it gives a momentum to the story. So it is more like Ragini is from Banaras and she lives in Lucknow.
Right.
And both the cities give her that calm.
You
In
want to
both the
try this?
cities, she finds a trait of her personality that makes her very calm and serene. And whereas Priyanka is from Mumbai, so Mumbai gives her that aspiration that she wants to climb up the social ladder. She wants to be in that elitist group of society. And when she gets into an arranged marriage setup, she feels that this is a route to break her middle class existence. So in a way, I think both the cities in the novels are like if you are familiar with Thomas Hardy's love for the Wessex region. So I think it's there. It's there like a silent force, and it is shaping the story in a very, very forceful yet very subtle way. And it is not like, as you use the word adversary, so it is not what New York is, let us say, in The Great Gatsby, where it is like a lean, hungry machine which is sucking up the character.
Right.
So I think in my novels, the cities are an enabler for the growth of the character.
Lovely. Anindita, do tell us.
I definitely see the city as a character, so even more than an enabler, more than being a backdrop, I see the city as a character. And when there are multiple characters in a story, the way that one behaves or the interactions with that character determines and informs the actions of your lead. So in The Only City, Bombay, by its very nature, is there's a covetousness. If I have to use one word to describe Bombay, people are constantly reaching for more. So in action and in reaction with that, the characters are also constantly pushed to reach for more. When it comes to women, I feel no matter what a woman achieves, even if she achieves things that are considered successes in the eyes of the world, whether it's a doctorate degree or an MBA or a great marriage and raising two beautiful children, unless those were her choices to make, it's not a success in my eyes. And I feel Bombay is a city that allows the female characters in my books to make their own choices, and it also encourages them to reach for more. So to give an example of, say, a nurse Shanti, in one of the stories in The Only City, she's a Malayali nurse who has a fairly good job that a nurse could have. She is the sole caretaker of an old Parsi man, very little work through the day. But that's not enough for her. She wants now a job in Dubai because Bombay tells you not to stop. So it defines the scale and the depth of your ambition.
Wonderful. Keeping this in continuation, why do you think certain cities inspire literature so much while there are certain other cities which don't really?
Now that's a very interesting point to think about because yes, Mumbai, I think because of its flamboyance, its glamour, its aspirational social system, is a very popular choice for authors. Then we do have Calcutta coming in with its literary character. Anandita would know more about that. So I think certain cities have that flavor which tend to catch up with the characters that the author is writing about. And certain cities provide an identity to the characters or even to the story. They give a context, and that is why they are more popular.
Anandita, your
For
take?
me, a story, or especially a short story, what it does is that it captures a moment of change. And Bombay is a city that is constantly changing. I like to say you can never step into the same Bombay twice. So if a city is constantly changing, Bombay is constantly in a state of metamorphosis. You have to change, the character has to change in order to keep pace with the city. And that makes for very exciting stories, because how you can't write a story about a person who does the same thing every day. Maybe you can, but it wouldn't be a very exciting story. So Bombay, since it is metamorphosing every day itself, it encourages and rewards metamorphosis in its characters. And that's why I think it's the most brilliant setting for a city. You could be, you know, there are so many of these slumdog millionaire stories, also the reverse. And Bombay foments that kind of dynamic change.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much. Kavita ji, your novels particularly, they focus a lot on relationships and, the emotional journeys of the characters. So how do your works reimagine love? And not just the romantic variety of it, but also, self-love, friendship, resilience in an urban context.
Yeah, I would begin by saying something which my husband, who is here, is very fond of saying, that love, the romantic love that we all know of, is a 30-month phenomena. So beyond that, it evolves, it changes, and it takes on new views in the form of trust and care and respect. But both my novels, Second Chance, there is romance, but it is not mills and board exactly. I think the love that Second Chance speaks about is about empowered choices. And that is where Ragini's, the main character's self-love comes into the front. And it is her love for life, her love for herself, which is egging her on despite her many failures, despite being duped, despite finding very typical characters as suitors, which propels her to go further in search of that romantic love. And as far as Love Unlocked is concerned, it is beautifully said in the foreword by Dr. Raghuvanshi that medicines can cure, but love can heal. So that, I think, is the power and the transformative nature of true love. And you will find that it is there in so many relationships in the book, like Ragini has with her sister Kamini, with her friend Mia. And in Love Unlocked, Priyanka goes into an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
But she starts to love her family, her in-laws, her husband Varun. So in the end, I think it is this rainbow of varied views of love that we discover in the two novels.
Yeah, lovely. It also reminds me of Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, where London also features like this additional character rather than just being a backdrop. And there are these, emotional undercurrents that Woolf portrays that come out beautifully, in your novels as well, in the characters. So do you also think that the city intensifies emotional loneliness for women? Uh, or does it, save them from being so cornered? What do you feel?
I think there again we will have to look at the distinguishing factors of a mega city and a tier 2 city. Like we are all in Bhopal and I have come from Delhi. So personally, initially I felt that the pace is very different.
Yeah.
And I think in the novels, Ragini in Lucknow is comparatively free from all that tussle of a mega city in terms of commuting, in terms of stepping out alone at night. So basically, she has more time for herself, which she can use for her matchmaking.
Yeah.
And while in Love Unlocked, it is Mumbai which is propelling Priyanka to seek more, to aspire for more. And it is giving her avenues also. She can do an MBA, she can search for a job, she can take a break when she has a child and go back to the job again. So it is the nature of the city which is driving the characters largely.
Right. Thank you. Anandita, your anthology brings in a variety of female voices through the various stories, and you just mentioned that for you the city is a character. So could you tell us something more about it? And also, does the city as a character observe the other characters in the narrative?
I didn't understand the second part of that question.
So does the city as a character also has a response to the other people, other characters that are doing, their bit in the narrative? Does it come to play to that extent?
It reminds me of something Fitzgerald, I think, had said, that he finds large parties very intimate. So I think, in fact, when it is a mega city, a lot of the stories set in very large cities delve a lot into the interiority of a character, because you can feel lonely in a large city. And I find that novels about smaller towns Sometimes you really get to know the town because there's so much love for the city and you describe it. What I find interesting and what, several reviews have pointed out about the stories in The Only City is that Bombay or the landmarks or even the train hustle bustle, that features relatively less because the characters are retreating from the kind of the exterior bustle and the stories are actually happening inside rooms or inside their heads. So I think the ways in which that the city and the characters respond are maybe in a way pushing each other a little bit away, kind of encouraging that isolation, and the stories play out in private almost, most of the stories.
So despite all the hustle, it's more of, quiet moments of self-reckoning that we see through these stories.
I would say, like a novel set in a village, it would be almost impossible for the whole village not to be part of it. But in The Only City, I see it as 18 intimate portraits of 18 people, which I think bring together a more authentic portrait of a city rather than 18 sweeping landscape shots.
Right. Lovely. In both your works, the protagonists are ordinary females, whom we meet on an everyday basis. So, why did you decide to make these ordinary women the center of your narrative? And also, do the choices of these ordinary women are quietly radical in their own ways?
Yes, Rolii, I think first of all, let us look at the beauty in the ordinary. I think that is the essence of something we miss many times, and it reminds me of the words of William Blake to see the world in a grain and heaven in a wild flower. So I think if we are able to do that, we will find a lot of extraordinary in the ordinary, and that is what made both these girls, Ragini and Priyanka, the quintessential girl next door, something like what I would be or what many of our young audience would be. And but the choices they make, as you said, Ragini opts for a divorce to end her abusive marriage, and she's very clear that she wants to marry again. And that is something radical if you see in the middle class social milieu that existed some years ago at least. And Priyanka is very strongly individualistic. She could have chosen to part ways with Varun over the many issues that she was facing, but she also chooses to adapt and accept her in-laws' family at a later stage. So the choices they make are, I would say, what makes them the phenomenal women of Maya Angelou, and in that I think lies the beauty of these ordinary characters. And also I think it is easy for the audience to relate to them. And I would urge the young audience here to go through these books and see whether they find something of themselves or their elder sister in one of these books.
Anandita, what's your take?
So I don't think the women in my book are ordinary, but certainly really taking on from what you said, Kavita ji, the circumstances are relatively ordinary, but they do extraordinary things. I find very often in books about feminism or books that want to portray, radical choices, there are lots of extreme events happening. There's either domestic abuse or someone's being denied education or there is infidelity. But I wanted to explore that even when a woman seemingly has every privilege, even when she comes from, the more privileged caste and class backgrounds, she's highly educated, the husband is a good man, women can still feel that they are not living out their full potential. So I was, hence the man had to die on page 1 for the women just to even realize what's missing. The kind of blurb for the illuminated is when the light shifts, you see the world differently. And I feel often in our ordinary lives, the light doesn't shift. You can just go on living 30 years thinking everything is wonderful. And only when an event occurs, which might not be a big event, there's a shift in your nazariya, like they say. So I think the women, I think all women are actually extraordinary. So I wouldn't say that the women are ordinary, but I wanted to portray a very relatively non-dramatic situation, but dramatic outcomes from that.
Absolutely. Do you think readers underestimate how quietly radical usually such characters are? And, despite being not so radical, they have absolutely powerful stories to tell, like just this shifting of light metaphor that you used. Do you think readers underestimate the power of such characters?
I don't think readers underestimate. I think if we just look at the example of Indian soap operas, if you look at Hindi TV, the women all come from very relatable backgrounds and they are facing extreme challenges, and that's what makes it relatable. I think 96% of the audience for these shows are all women, right? They're homemakers. So I would not underestimate the reader ever. I think they do relate to quite challenges, quite struggles, and that's why all of this, women's publishing industry or even the self-published books are doing so well because they are relatable characters.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Kavita ji, I would request you to please read us an excerpt from one of your works.
Okay, so I would go for second chance. And as I said, it is about Ragini, and she has been interacting with this journalist from Delhi, Ravish Mitra, who is a Bengali, and they have interacted a few times, but Ragini is just assessing him. So this is a final, I would say, the culminating interaction between them, which I would share with you. Ragini called Ravish the next day, but he didn't pick up the phone. He sent a message that he would call her after dinner. Ragini was beginning to dislike his dominating and self-centered attitude. However, she was determined to try her best and not let the opportunity fizzle out. It was late in the night when Ravish finally called. Ragini answered sleepily, but became alert when she heard what he was saying. I am having second thoughts. What if things don't turn out fine? My daughter will be the person most affected. Can you guarantee me that you will make the marriage work? Ravish, I alone cannot make it work. Both of us will have to work towards it. Both have to adapt and adjust. But Ravish was not convinced. He was in a different frame of mind altogether. He went on talking negatively. What if you also ditch me or just try to live on your own terms? I will not be able to cope with that. Ragini tried her best to remove his doubts, but Ravish was turning out to be a very complicated person. In order to lighten the atmosphere, she decided to tease him a bit. Look, we are not getting married tomorrow. I am not wearing a bridal dress, nor asking you to wear a sherwani and come galloping on a horse to marry me now. No, 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 Ravish almost screamed. What are you saying? All this scares me. I'm not up to it.
That's an extraordinary woman.
I
Yes?
think we all know a Mr. Mitra.
Yeah, yes, yes. On this note, mega cities also offer a lot of opportunity for second chances and for reinvention to people, but only up to a particular point a lot of times. So how do you think relationships and social expectations restrict or encourage this, pendulum between the mobility and constraint? How do you think this pans out? And how does your work cover it?
So I think relationships on their own are very, very dynamic.
Right.
So it's not just about the emotional landscape of a character in the story, but we all have lived through relationships that take on different colors, different, and we know how to navigate through them. So in my stories also, if we speak of love unlocked, so Priyanka, when she has a marriage with Varun, she has got a very rosy expectations of married life, that she will be literally the queen of the house and whatnot. But to her dismay, the in-laws would make her go through a very different version of marriage. And that scenes of discords which come in distort the relationships and create constraints. So I think it's all about how you look within and how you transform and how you navigate the relationships which happen within you.
Right. Thank you. Anandita, you mention in the introduction of your anthology, and this is something that I find very, very interesting, that you have to be out and about in Bombay doing your thing so that Bombay is okay. So tell us something about your relationship with Bombay. How has Bombay influenced you? And also, why is Bombay the only city?
I think continuing with what Kavita ji said, you were talking about many kinds of love, and I think my love for Bombay is a very deep kind of love. I believe if you can explain exactly why you like something or like a city, that love is transactional. That's not true love. I love Bombay, and it's hard for me to even explain why. Because I think when you love truly, you love something with all its flaws. So when I say I love Bombay, I know it's riddled with problems. I'm sure people in Bhopal, I know, are very proud of their city. I love Bombay, and I know it has its problems, but I love despite. I love in spite, because you love something warts and all. So that's just a superstition. I feel I've lived in the first 25 years when I lived in Bombay. Whenever I was not in Bombay is when, the 92 riots happened, the 2006 floods happened. All of these things happened on a day or in a year when I was not in Bombay. So I feel I must remain in Bombay and protect my city like a fortress.
Lovely. Lovely. May I request you to please read something
Yeah,
for us?
I also want to congratulate you, Rolii, on bringing together city and love. It was a very ambitious thing to do. I'm going to shift focus to getting back to the part of the session which is about mega cities. So
Right.
it is about love, but about love for the city.
Yeah.
And I think this section, I'm going to read a short section, is related to what I said about loving something with its warts and flaws. When people say Bombay smells of garbage and rotting fish, the homes are too small, there are too few green spaces, the traffic is unbearable, the roads are riddled, the poor have been unfairly moved near toxic landfills, the city still isn't rain ready. I know it's all true, except that the fish are drying, not rotting. I'm a romantic, but I'm not wholly delusional. I spend reams of time wondering what it is that I love. That I love is irrefutable. It is hard not to love. Even my Bengali parents, who moved here from Kolkata and Delhi, and tried steadfastly to keep the city out of our home through my childhood and teenage years. No Hindi movies, river fish over sea fish, Darjeeling tea over chai. Now they love. They have finally left behind the mangoes of their childhood and become besotted by the Alfonso. Admittedly, Bombay is no city of joy, of lights, lakes, hills, those trifling things from which many other metropolises draw their names. It is not a place of aching beauty, but it carries a quality of everyday pageantry, a sea that laps at its edges all the way from the north to the south. It is Dolby Digital thunder and torrential rain pelting down. It is a film shoot in that chalk blue cottage in Bandra. It is Dadar flower market at dawn, a diaphanous pink dupatta fluttering out of the ladies' compartment, the soundtrack of Muhammad Ali Road at noon, the TV actor pretending to shield their face from paparazzi they've paid, the family of four savoring kala khatta golas at Jew Beach on a Sunday evening. Is it any coincidence that Bombay is shaped like a continent? This city holds countries. In the Andheri building where I grew up, Andheri is a neighborhood in Bombay, each of the four flats on our floor housed a different word for mother. So there it is. One thing I love about Bombay is the people who make it up. If all the people of the city were replaced with people from another city, it would not be Mumbai as it stands now. One could argue that would be true for most cities, but it is truer for some cities more than others.
Wonderful. Thank you. This again, kind of reminds me of Marcel Proust, who, In Search of Lost Time. Yeah, he talks about, cities are not just about what people see in terms of architecture, but it's what a city makes a person feels that, kind of becomes the city. And also another literary stalwart, the Irish writer James Joyce, whose work Dubliners is a collection of short stories, and where, in every story, Dublin is also a character with as much might. Uh, so from the point of view of your anthology, do you think this multiplicity of voices was absolutely necessary to, bring forth the authenticity of the urban experience rather than focusing on a single story that talks about Bombay?
It is 18 different writers, so the goal was to get 18 perspectives. But rather than go about it with a very DEI lens, and I use the word DEI because it's such a strong word now for us in governance and corporate life, but this is not a social document, it's a literary document. So rather than ensuring that we are covering every geographic location, every linguistic group, every religious group, the diversity that I was looking for is in the diversity in the quality of the person's relationship with the city. So not all the 18 writers are born and brought up in Bombay. Some are, so Ranjit Hoskote, Shanta Gokhale, Namita Devi Dayal, who are all stalwart writers in their own right. Their stories are set in the neighborhoods that they are so familiar with. But there's also Prayag Akbar, who is more a Calcutta boy and a Delhi boy, but he moved to Bombay and that's where he decided and he became a novelist. Diksha Basu, who moved to Bombay to be an actor, but wrote her first novel there. So for me, I was looking for diversity in the quality and the strength of the quality of the relationship, that Bombay almost had an alchemic relationship with all of the writers in the book. It has transformed their lives and their writing in a very profound way.
Right. Thank you so much. Before I open the session for questions from our audience members, my final question to both of you is, as women writers, what is it for you to write back to the city, to question it, to resist it, to reclaim it? And also, what do you want our women readers to actually take away from your works particularly?
Not just the women readers,
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
say this for the entire
Yeah,
audience,
yeah.
but more for the women reader definitely. And I think the first thought that I would like them to leave with is to not accept abuse in any form, in any relationship. And secondly, always have the hope and the aspiration to believe in second chances, to believe in optimism, because after all, there is a new book which is coming out by poet Kanhaiya Lal Sethia in Rajasthan, and I think the title is very apt. What I would like the women here to acknowledge: "Pankh diye kya aakash na doge." So fly high, and that is one of the messages. The second is for the younger audience who believe in internet dating. I think it has its landmines, so tread carefully and be alert and cautious. And the third is about transformation, to always believe that a shift can happen and it can happen for better. So have that perspective about looking inward and making that growth which life wants all of us to have in a very, very subtle and non-obtrusive manner. But yes, we must try to look within and grow from within. So as today I'm wise and I want to change myself. So I think that's it. My question.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. Anindita, would you please?
I think in continuation with one of the things we mentioned before, but that it's so important to define what your own ambition is. Because no matter what others define for you, and even if that looks great, if it's not your own, it's not going to be your own success. And two, I think, and especially in India, because of our academic system, we're always taught, it's a ABC. You do this, it's this exam, then it's that. But you don't stop, you have to keep forging ahead. The fact that life is continuous and wins and losses are continuous, and you can't really rest on your laurels and just stop, but to keep moving, that life is a continuum, I guess.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. The house is now open for questions from our audience members. Yes, please.
My name is Swarna and I have a question to the panel. Uh, can I ask in Hindi? Is it okay?
Yeah.
मैं एक लिटरेचर की स्टूडेंट हूँ और किताबें पढ़ने का शौक़ है, तो मेरा एक सवाल है, एज अ ऑथर एक मदर और डॉटर रिलेशनशिप किस तरीके से आपकी कहानियों को और उनके किरदारों को डेवलप कर रहा है या ब्रेक कर रहा है, इन रिगार्ड विद द मेगा सिटीज़ ऑल्सो एंड द टियर 2 एंड टियर 1 सिटीज़ ऑल्सो. हम इस चीज़ को किस तरीके से देखेंगे कि एक माँ का अपनी बेटी के साथ एज अ राइटर आप किस तरीके का रिलेशनशिप देखते हैं, क्योंकि जब हम अरुंधति रॉय को पढ़ते हैं या चित्रा जी को पढ़ते हैं, वी कैन ईजिली नेविगेट दैट पैटर्न कि हाँ उनका अपने मदर के साथ जिस तरीके का रिलेशन रहा है वो उनके कहीं ना कहीं लेखन में नज़र आता है. तो एज पर्टिकुलरली वुमेन ऑथर आप उस रिलेशनशिप को कैसे देखते हैं और किस तरीके से उस रिलेशनशिप का इम्पैक्ट आपके कैरेक्टर्स पर पड़ता है?
Thank you for your question. So I think माँ हम सबके जीवन में बहुत ही अहम भूमिका निभाती है. हम सब अधूरे हैं, हम जन्म ही नहीं लेते हमारी माँ के बिना. तो वो जो एक सपोर्ट है, वो जो एक नरिशमेंट है, एक नर्चरिंग है, वो डेफिनेटली मेरी लेखन में तो नज़र आता है, क्योंकि दोनों ही किरदारों का अपनी माँ से एक अटूट संबंध है. रागिनी की माँ शी इज़ नो मोर, बट वो उनकी याद में अपनी बहन को अपनी माँ की तरह देखती है. और प्रियंका की माँ एक हाउसवाइफ है, होम मेकर है, लेकिन वो भी एक अब चाहती है कि अब उनकी डॉटर को एक सफल जीवन मिले, और प्रियंका भी ममता से उसी तरह इंस्पायर्ड होती है. तो आई थिंक ये बहुत ही नेचुरल सी चीज़ है कि आपके लेखन में और या आपकी सोच में भी ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हम उसको एक्सप्रेस ही करें, बट जो हमारी माँ का सपोर्ट और कॉन्फिडेंस देने वाला एक रोल रहता है, जो भूमिका रहती है, वो हमारे लेखन में डेफिनेटली नज़र आएगा.
I want to add that it's also very encouraging कि lately मेरी जब किताब 2021 में आई थी, there were a lot of stories talking about a trend of mother-daughter books. No writer writes a book to follow a trend because you spend 3 or 4 years on it. You don't do it as a trend, you do it because you really want to. An Indian book called Girl in White Cotton was shortlisted for the Booker. And the discourse around that time was, why are there suddenly so many books about mother-daughter? And the answer to that is that there are just more women writing books now. We've grown up reading books by middle-aged men, all of us. That was considered literature when we were reading in our 20s and 30s. You're reading about a man in London, in Sense of an Ending. He's getting his trouser repaired. There are 7 pages on that. Or, he's cheating on his wife, 10 pages of that. So you're getting inside the interiority of a middle-aged man, and that was literature, but you weren't, anything that women were writing about things that were close to them was chick lit. But that has thankfully changed now, and there are women writing about things that are important to them. And a mother and daughter relationship is a primary relationship that a woman has with another woman, because you can have multiple daughters, you can have multiple sisters, but you only have one mother. So the reason that there are so many very deep mother-daughter books now is just that more young women are writing books. And I think that's a great thing to celebrate.
Well, that's very well said. We'll have one more question. Sir has a question. Please pass the
Good
mic.
afternoon.
Well,
A very interesting session. And as you said that more women are writing books, so we know about them a lot more now. We're seeing that women are coming of age even in terms of voting pattern. More women are coming out and voting in India. So how do you look at that change in terms of DEI all over India, in Madhya Pradesh, Bombay, Maharashtra, and all over India?
I look at all of it as a way of self-expression. So whether it's your political expression, whether it's expressing, choosing how you invest your money, or whether it is enrolling in an art course, whether it's music, dance, I see it as a continuum. I think as more women are feeling confident to know their own mind and to make their own choices, I think feminism ultimately is about choice. It is true, and I'm sure you're aware as well, that even while sometimes we see there are more numbers of women voting, a lot of them are still voting based on what they've been told by the community or the men. But I think that is changing too. There are women's group, women are getting their own information now from social media, they're making their own choices. So I feel whether it's economic, political, or creative, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's all a way of self-expression.
Yeah, to add to it, I would just say that a transformation is happening in our social milieu, and it is like our society is coming of age now, so to say.
We'll have one more question, sir. Last question.
Hello.
So please introduce yourself before you
My
ask.
name is Firoz Khan, and I read somewhere like 2025 was not a good year for men. We know the story of Blue Drum and what had happened in Meghalaya, and of course आपकी भी किताब में husband को पहले पेज पे मरना पड़ता है ताकि एक woman centric story जिंदा रहे. तो my question is कि आप लोगों के लिए कितना challenging होगा एक woman को negative portray करना और एक man को limelight में रखना और of course जिंदा रखना last page तक.
कविता जी ने बहुत केयरफुली उनके आंसर में बताया कि her message is also for the men and not for the women. So I think the idea is not to create camps. The idea is to bring people closer. In fact, I knew that 25-year-old girls would be reading Illuminated. I knew it would be popular among young women. So when 50-year-old men were reading it and writing to me, I considered that actually to be a great success. I do think there's no point just preaching to the choir. You do want everybody in. And feminism is about everybody winning. It's not just about women winning. मेरे किताब में जो आदमी फर्स्ट पेज पे एक्सपायर हो जाता है, उनके साथ कुछ वायलेंट नहीं होता है. He's lived a great life. He just peacefully drops dead on page 1. And I just wanted to conveniently get him out of the picture so that the women could figure out their light. But they don't hate him. At no point are they, now thinking he was a villain. It's just that sometimes the men need to keep quiet. Sometimes they need to have a bad year, like 2025, as you're saying. I don't think it's ever a bad year for men. They just need to sometimes be quiet, to have an all-woman panel on stage, just to let the women shine. Because it's been centuries and too many years of the reverse. So अगर थोड़ा अभी balance unstable हो रहा है, होने दो. As a philosopher, Hegel says, and Shashi, the wife in my book, is a Hegelian scholar, right? That if the tree has been bent one way for too long, to bring it to the center, you have to pull it all the way to the other end, and then so that it comes to the center. तो होने दो ना अभी आधा decade.
I also would like to answer you very briefly. आपने पूछा कि लेखन में कितना चैलेंजिंग है एक अच्छे caring, एक आदर्श टाइप के परफेक्ट पेमेंट मैन को लिखने के बारे में. तो आई वुड जस्ट से उतना ही चैलेंजिंग है जितना उस परफेक्ट मैन को रियल लाइफ में मिलने.
Well, we have 1 or 2 more minutes. I'll have one more question. So please
For the
introduce
opportunity.
yourself.
I'm Manish Chaudhary, joined CGST. Thank you to the panelists and the moderator for an insightful session. My question is to Kavita ma'am. Ma'am, how can men write authentic female characters? And flip side, is there a different process that you follow when you write male characters?
So Manish, writing is a lot about observation. So, and I feel that there is no dearth of female persons in your life from whom you can observe and draw inspiration from. And secondly, I'm also reminded of the words of Jeffrey Archer,
Well, a big round of applause for our speakers. Thank you for sharing these powerful stories to the women who define cities with their strength and resilience. And particularly, we talked about Bombay, and I've spent fairly good time in Bombay while I was studying. So I relate hard as to how Bombay works and how Bombay feels. Uh, Kudos to the superwoman on dais. I now request, as we conclude this session,
Paritosh, if I could just have a quick 10-second announcement. Our members of the audience can get the books of our authors from the stalls and come for the signing after the session. Thank you so much.
Signing is right outside, yes.
we'll probably wait for a minute or two as we have somebody from the society to present the
Can take
memento.
one more
Perhaps
question.
Yes, we could take some
Because
questions
one of
as well.
my-
Yes, ma'am. Madam has a
Yes.
question. Please pass her the mic. Yes, ma'am. You have the mic
I
there.
think we were just warming up and beginning to have a lot of fun with the audience.
Shukla. I heard somebody talking about man, mother and daughter relationship, and she wanted to talk in Hindi. So I want to talk about the Hindi literature. हिंदी लिटरेचर में आशा पूर्णा देवी हैं, अमिता प्रीतम हैं, जिन्होंने काफ़ी हिंदी के बारे में लिखा है, और इंग्लिश में जेन ऑस्टिन हैं. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इफ़ यू गो बैक 100 years or 50 years and read the women authors, they are writing on how they see life, how life has treated them. तो उसके बेसिस पे वो लिख रही थी, और आदमी अपने थॉट्स पर लिख रहे थे. ऑफ कोर्स 50 साल पहले आदमी को ज़्यादा फ्रीडम थी. तो मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहूँगी, मैं बस एक थॉट शेयर कर रही हूँ कि जैसा हम लोग लिख रहे हैं, मैं भी एक ऑथर हूँ, उसके बाद मेरा भी सेशन है. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक 50 years from down, I'll only say 50 years, not 100 years, विमेन की राइटिंग में किस तरीके का चेंज पॉसिबल है, अकॉर्डिंग टू यू?
I actually think that 50 years down, we will probably not have the phrase feminism because, you know, gender is moving in such a non-binary space that it might be even considered politically incorrect to have a session on women's writing and men's writing. I think those gender roles, the gender boxes itself will be, I think in 10 years, it will be very uncool to have a shelf on women's writing or on male literature. I think we are moving towards gender fluidity and a more gender binary society. Yeah.
So from now, we would take some more questions after the memento giving, and as the speakers walk out, we could have the more questions could be addressed later. As we conclude this enriching session, I invite Meenakshi Dua ma'am, member of society, to present a memento to our esteemed speakers as a token of our gratitude. But can we have a big round of applause for Meenakshi ma'am? Created for the Bhopal Literature Festival 2026 by Padma Shri Bhil artist Durga Bai, this artwork symbolizes the deep interconnection between people, place, and lived experience, echoing the themes explored in today's conversation. I personally thank Rolii ji for framing this session so beautifully that it completed in time. To our speakers, thank you for your time, insight, and thoughtful engagement. We'd have a quick photo op with a round of applause for Rolii ji, Kavita ji, and Anindita ji. Thank you to our speakers and to all of you for being part of this session at VAGARTH. We hope these conversations continue to shape how we read, reflect, and relate to the world around us. We look forward to welcoming you back for the next session. Thank you very much.